Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Polkaros Potcast, where I speak with fellow craftspeople, artists and creatives. Today we're very happy to have Clare from Friday's Garden join us. Hi Clare, thank
Hello,
you.
Ross.
And thank you so much for having us in your beautiful studio. Today we're recording in Friday's Garden studio, which is a very special experience because we really feel like we have entered Friday's Garden with birds chirping in the background and we are surrounded with beautiful flowers. So Claire, can you share more about your journey with flowers with us? How do you start Friday's Garden?
Sure, yeah. So I've always been drawn to storytelling, I think, as a career, So for the longest time, I actually entered the creative industry as a copywriter. So words were my love language, when I first started, and this was in like my 20s. But as it went on, I became a mom, and I think I needed a bit of a break from the corporate side of things. And so I started painting. And then lockdown happened. Yeah. So from my acrylics and watercolors and large canvases, I suddenly found myself in my apartment as, I would say trapped with my kids and the dog. And don't get me wrong, I love my kids and I love my family. But it was just such a drastic change, right? That I found myself craving something, an outlet of expression, but I wasn't able, as you know, non-essential service, right? Artists. So I
Those were the days.
Correct. So I was actually renting my friend's a room in my friend's place, and because it was a residential, I couldn't access my studio. But I found out that plants and flowers could be delivered to my door. Yeah, and so I did a bit of like sleuthing, amateur sleuthing, and realized that there are these like WhatsApp groups out there, and Telegram groups where they would actually, you could place an order for flowers and they would have it sent to you. Yeah, and so that's what kind of started the whole thing, because I thought, okay, how lovely, let me just try for fun, and I could gift friends. And as it went on, I realized, wow, this thing is pretty spent. It was quite expensive, a hobby. And beyond that, it was also the wastage, because no matter what you can gift to, I got greedy with the types of flowers, right? Because I got more and more excited about the different types available. And then I realized, oh no, what am I going to do with the leftovers? And so I actually reached out. At the time, I had a plant account on Instagram called The Dog Ate My Plant, which is now very much defunct. I mean, it's still there, but it's slightly neglected because we're so busy here at Fridays. But I reached out and I said, look, if there are 5 people who are willing to jump on board with me, and all I need are $50 a week. $50, I will send you my creations, delivered to your door, and I've got no training, right? No formal training whatsoever, but it will help to fund the flowers and you journey with me. So that's how it started. This was in 2021, I think May, June. June was probably when I first started out at home just playing, and then by July or August, I was already posting it on IG under my plant account. And these 5 amazing individuals, I mean, they're still around. I mean, some of them are still clients, Not all of them are still subscribers. In fact, we had to pause our subscriptions because we were too busy with events and stuff like that. But I would love to kickstart them again. And that's how it started. Yeah.
And were they your friends or they were just purely like...
2 of them were friends, and then 3 of them were actually from the Instagram space, the realm, from the community, and very supportive. Up to today, I'm still grateful for them. Really grateful for them, because they didn't have to do it. Right? And it's not, if you think about it, it's not a small amount of money either. It seems small now compared to, the cost of flowers and living, right, and everything. But hey, it's $50 a week, and so with an unknown creator. So always be indebted, and grateful.
But did you already, so they saw some of your examples that you were posting and they liked it, that's why they subscribed, right? Was it?
Yes, so I posted just recently, we're on IG, yes. You know how now they have stickers which like you can tag yourself and post photos from the past and stuff like that. So there was one that said, show your works when you first started out from years ago. And we only started in 2021, but oh my goodness, Ross, when I looked through the album and I saw all my first creations and they were all like poor strangled flowers. I didn't know the techniques, right? So it was about, this is pretty and let's cram it into this pot. And because I had when I first started out, I was like, okay, I have this vision in mind. And I want to make sure that it ends up looking like that, because coming from the design realm and from branding, that's how we start, right?
Yes.
We have a message that we want to put out to the audience, and we have our storyboards, and we have this plan, and and so that's how I first started out. And I didn't have a relationship. I didn't have a relationship with the blooms at the time, a connection, that's what I mean by relationship, right? And it showed. It showed. And when I posted those IGS stories, the IG stories, it was really like, wow, okay, so I guess all of us start somewhere, because as I said in my caption, those would never leave Friday's door right now. Not anymore,
So when you first started, do you think the motivation was more like you were saying, using the flowers to send a message to a loved one? Like, were there other motivation besides before you reached the point that you wanted to share the flower story? Maybe was it because, during COVID, people needed that little boost,
Yeah. So when I first started, it wasn't altogether altruistic. Like I said, it was a self-preservation thing, right? And how with the potted plants, for example, that I used to order in, I used to draw so much hope from them, because again in life, I found myself, I was always like, once COVID is over, then I'll go back to where my life was, and I was craving that sort of that goal, right? And waiting for it, and moping around. But then when I thought about these potted plants, and you get them in these tiny little plastic pots, 8 cm diameter, every day that plant grows.
Wow.
Every day that plant will still push out roots. It doesn't matter that it's not in the perfect conditions, or how dare you rip me out from the the nursery or the forest or whatever. I mean, no, let's not rip plants out of the forest. Poaching is bad. Let me just say that for the record. But everything in the plant's DNA was designed to grow. And with whatever morsel of light it would get, it would take that and it would put it into its life's purpose. Oh my, how can you run away from that? And once that clicked for me, everything changed. And that's when I actually started up this Instagram account called The Dog Ate My Plant. And that was, again, not altruistic. It was really like my journey, and I was very excited to document, as with all the the newly minted plant moms and dads during COVID. I think all of us are drawn to it for a reason, right? And that was the energy that you get from the plants is something that I can't even put into words. And so the love started there, and then it, like I said, it went into flowers once I realized that, okay, flowers could be sent too. And it was so fun weaving the colors together, and I could find my voice again. But yes, eventually when I started posting it, right, I started getting DMs saying that, hi, do you do orders? And the first thing that strikes you is, oh my God, imposter syndrome. Do I really do I take orders? Because I'm not a professional florist. But I'm like, okay, what's your budget? I'm here to help, because then they'll go, it's actually for a friend who lost his job, or it's for my friend, she's, down, she's in lockdown, separated from her family. She just came back from overseas, because a lot of them were coming back in, but they had to be at hotels, and they had to be stuck there for 2 weeks, alone in a room in isolation. And I mean, looking back, that was such a surreal time for us, right?
Yes,
and so I thought, well, okay. And I always started with a caveat. I'm not a professional, but sure, if this is the budget, sure, I can put something together for you.
Awesome.
And that was scary. I can tell you that was scary. Because at the time, I mean, I was already interested in the art of floristry. So obviously you go onto the different accounts, and you go onto these overseas accounts and local accounts, and you look at, wow, what people are doing, But I never, I guess, sought to emulate. I think I didn't have the technical know-how anyway. But I knew that what I really enjoyed, I knew that, how do I put this into words? See, my hands are already moving, right?
Yes.
Because there's something different about writing a card to someone saying that I'm rooting for you, I care about you, I miss you. And those words seem to flow so easily for me before. And they still do. I love writing still, but when you feel the textures, and you feel the different blooms, the stems, how they yield, how some of them refuse to yield, and you sort of have to just adjust your expectations. And how at the end, or rather in the beginning, there's no point having this end goal in mind. Like you might be able to sort of envision the colors, and I see things in colors actually, right? So, but what you end up with is a complete surprise to yourself actually.
Wow.
And then there's this sort of relief that, yeah, it's not fully in my control. Oh, it can still be beautiful. And hopefully this represents the personality. So even from the beginning, I was really asking what was the recipient like. And that's residual from our branding days, you know?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking like your branding experience, and also as an artist, you were doing some paintings, I understand, before you got into flowers. So I see that. I mean, I just like when I see Friday's arrangement, I feel that it's very distinctive of your style, and somehow like one look, you know, is Friday's Gardens arrangement. And I think it's because of maybe your artistic background, right? Like your to you, it looks almost like the fresh flowers are just your new medium now, and you're like weaving it together to create this new work of art. You know, that's what this makes it so special. Yeah.
Thank you for the kind words. I'm still learning how to process, and I do accept it with gratitude. You know, the compliments, because for me, yeah, actually, when people talk about like a Friday's Garden style, right, it's a blur to me, you know, like I don't see something locked in. You know, I do know that there's certain principles that we try to apply design wise. And you're right, it is design. It's not. So to me, design and art are
That's right.
from the same womb, you know.
The two.
Twins from the same womb, but they're very different personalities, right? And I think the principal thing is there is artistry in design. There has to be. But there's also this very outward sort of like it is a service, you know. And for us at Fridays as well, it's never just been about making the most beautiful flowers, you know. No, I mean the flowers are beautiful already.
Yes.
But it's about weaving the stories that matter to the people receiving them. It's about connecting people. Everything that we do, even when you look at our logo, right? I don't know whether you've seen our logo, and it's this little thing. That's because I want us to be the vessels. Yeah, and I want us to be that bond, you know, between whether it's from me or the team when we create to the recipient, or from the sender to recipient, from the recipient to like a deeper sense of self, and also for whoever is in touch with our flowers to connect with nature and their world. That's what we're keen on. That's that fuels everything that we do here. And I suppose it stems from the whole lockdown thing when I was in isolation as well. And I felt so removed from what was comfortable and my favorite people, and that will forever be part of our DNA, I think, you know. The drive to bring people closer together. Yeah.
Wow, that's very beautiful. And like looking at these flowers in front of us, I can see like many different texture. I guess like that's also like taking what's beautiful in nature and weaving it together. Like it's almost like a collaboration with nature that you have done, right? Like to use what's already beautifully made and using it to connect with people. And
it is.
Lovely. I think that's what I think your selection of flowers is also what makes Fridays a bit different from other florists. Would you say that you have a special like eye for like unique exotic flowers? Because I think I've never really seen some of your selection elsewhere. So how is it like sourcing, or like how do you select or pick some of the flowers that you bring in?
I love that question because it again ties back to why we're called Friday's Garden, right? And a garden to me is like a space that you consciously curate, you consciously tend to, and I choose my flowers like I choose my people. I think it's about diversity, and I think it's about, you know, creating an environment where everyone's unique sort of traits and their personalities, their beliefs, right? I think there's room for everyone, you know, as long as you're not hurting someone else. So that to me is something that we consciously have to work at as a society, as a community. And in terms of our flowers, I hope that whatever we do like brings that story to life. I do consciously choose the oddballs.
I think that's what many people would probably be attracted to, such as myself. I would think that this is really unique and
because I guess growing up, I never felt like I belonged fully in. I was always the odd duck, right? And I know what it feels like to feel like the other. And so in a world where it's filled with roses and, tulips and all these I love both, by the way. See, so all these, it's not about penalizing what's popular. That's not what we're about. We still use very popular sort of species, and there's nothing wrong with them. I don't think there's anything dirty about the word common. I think that things are common for a purpose, and that if they're common, it means that they're connecting people, right? And so that tapestry, if it's solid and it's sound, let's use that. But at the same time, there has to be woven into that fabric, right? All these beautiful, odd creatures that may not always be the most convenient. It may not be the most, I would say, easily processed, right? And you may not, it may be a struggle to insert that into the conversation at first, but it's only at first. That's the beauty of it. Once we start introducing these characters in and we welcome them and we shuffle and we make room for them, it's a very beautiful result. And you end up with unexpected, I would say, like I said, our silhouettes that we have our bouquets in, they're not deliberate. A lot of it is, of course, painstakingly pulled together, but it's the same as community, right? If you make enough room, I think that the best conversations, we were just talking about freestyling this one as well, right? Yeah, the best conversations are those where you don't have an expectation. Like there's a hope to connect, but you don't have an expectation for content. And the same thing when we bring these flowers together, right? There's always that hope that we're doing something a bit different so that whoever is receiving it, because we work omakase and we don't repeat designs, by the way. Yeah, so even if we're using the same ingredients, for example, in a large order, and for our corporate clients, they want specific flowers, but the way we weave them together, each bouquet is different because the world deserves unique conversations. We deserve that unique bond and that person to feel seen. And it is a conscious thing, but I think also it's very freeing as creators, right? To embrace spontaneity. Yeah. And it's something that I think that's why I left corporate branding, that spontaneity, while they always say, they preach it as like, it's a very important part of the process. At the end of the day, it's like KPIs and it's, and I think Fridays as a business, yes, we have to be very mindful, not to be irresponsible, but and self-indulgent, but Fridays, I always see it as a constantly evolving concept. It's an attitude. Like Friday's Garden is about yes, it's okay that you take a mistake and you turn it into an opportunity for something else, and that spontaneity of pivoting, sorry, I just laugh because I always use that word. To pivot is something that takes humility and it takes hope to be able to change, the angle of where you originally wanted to go and kind of just roll with it.
Yes. Yeah. And actually why I was mentioning, bringing back to the art point of view is because you're trying to do something very different, almost like going against the grain, because at the end of the day, you're still a business, right? As in we're trying to take our passion into business. I think that's what a lot of the people I speak with on this podcast do as well. So I think there's some challenges because you were saying, okay, there's nothing wrong with the common flowers. And is actually in the whole grand scheme of things, it's probably easier to get hold of some of those common flowers, right? Importing and stuff. But if you are really aiming to bring in some unique flowers, I'm guessing you go out of your way to import some of these flowers in as well. Are those some of your challenges trying to, share these unique flowers that we don't normally see in Singapore? Would that be one of the challenges that you face trying to strike a balance as a business?
Yes and no. I would say that we're so lucky to have amazing local suppliers as well, that now understand that the taste has changed.
Okay.
Right? That right now people are a little bit more open to, and receptive to things that are not as, what's that word? Customary or what traditionally has been viewed as pretty. I think the concept of beauty and pretty has expanded, and that's very exciting for us as creators, right? But yes, it still is limiting, which is why, I'm so glad that we got in touch with, we have a supplier in the Netherlands as well. And while their buyers do help us source for what we want, it's still a bit of a because the internet, right, is both a gift and also like you go on there and you feel instant FOMO because there's so many thousands of species out there that you wish you could get your hands on, but it's not always easy. But that's part of I think the joy of being in this industry is the anticipation. It is the need for patience, the respect for nature, where a lot of our customers go like, but I love peonies, and I love ranunculus. I'm sure you can find one. And we're like, but I can't ask Mother Gaia to like shoot one out from the ground as much as, there are growers that turn to glass in greenhouses, right, during off season. But sometimes you can't force it, right? And that's something that I've learned, that I benefited from this as well, meaning I've learned how to say no. This is the hardest part. You talk about business, turning, like a passion into a business. The scariest thing for an entrepreneur is to tell your first client, like the first no.
That's so true. Yeah.
Right? Because all you want to do is every opportunity, I have to grab it. That's your instinct. I have to grab it. Tired, you're exhausted, you're overworked, but you're like, if I say no, what if they never come back? And then nature did it for us. There are times where we want to take this on and we want to, but then we have to be very honest and say, I can't provide this flower, but, and that's where the branding comes in. That's where the understanding, because you see, right, people can come to you with requests, but you got to understand the heart of those requests. You got to understand which part of the brand story they're trying to tell, or if someone's trying to make someone feel like important. Like my mother's favorite flower is this particular rose. I want this rose. Then at the heart of it is like, oh, is it because, you live overseas? Oh, and then what other memories do you have? We actually dive deep with our clients, and then we try to find that connect. Because if the heart of it is, I want to connect, and I want to make sure they know that I am sentimental and that they mean something to me, we help with that. And then we try to find another bloom to kind of bring that to life. That's our job, right? Again, connecting people and telling that story. Yeah. So it's oftentimes when people ask about, their so-called, I wouldn't put it as demands, right? But it's that their requests. Once we understand the heart of it and why, it's very easy as a design solution to just sort of, come in and I would say help them bridge that gap.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of your work, I mean, besides just the flower arrangement, is also that consulting and that kind of like creative direction that you can. I mean, I guess your creative director background in, like, I believe you were working as a creative director in branding did help. I mean, contributes to the whole DNA of Friday's Garden as well, right? Understanding your customers' needs and how to bridge that gap. Like what they need. That's so interesting.
It is. It's all about, it's a service.
The story that you tell through the flowers as well. Like I remember you were sharing with me like all these flowers, actually you have learned a lot from them, like the stories behind. Is there any flowers that you can share with us, like something? Yeah, I think it's endless. But
it's endless.
endless, but would you, is there any one that really, like when you first started, because you were saying you just were putting the flowers together, but after a while you got deeper into the whole floral.
Yeah, once I started understanding, I think, how some of them grew and also what they represent. Like behind you, do you see those big fuzzy, you want to bring one stem?
This one?
Yeah, go for it. That's a protea. This is the Snow Queen.
Let me get the big one.
It is as regal as it,
Wow.
I want you to feel these are the bracts, right? Do you see that?
Wow.
It's fuzzy, right?
Fuzzy, beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen or felt.
This is a wonder. So this, the Protea family, right, is a very diverse one from South Africa. They also grow in Australia as well, but South Africa. And again, when I say all this, I'm not the expert, okay? I'm learning as I go and sharing as I learn. But why I love the Protea is that it's such a resilient flower. So they survive, the plant itself can survive like bushfires. You can touch the leaves. You see how leathery all these are? And then, the pollen, it's fuzzy, but something that can survive a bushfire and still come out all like fuzzy and soft, right? Doesn't that speak a lot about us? And like, to me, if you've been through really tough times in life, and oftentimes your instinct is to just climb up or to harden yourself and to protect yourself. But these babies are still soft and fluffy on the inside. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's possible. It's possible to rise from a really difficult situation and not lose that tender side of yourself, And so these are flowers that to me are very inspiring. Something like this in your vase, you don't need a lot actually. Just one, just to remind you, if you're going through a tough week, right?
Yes.
And you look at this bloom, you will know that you are made from the same thing, the same stardust, right? I mean, sunshine, the rays traveled all that way to make this possible. The same way that anything you put your mind to, right? Same thing. You've got it in your DNA as well to grow. And so again, I love going back to all of this and reminding myself that on your, the darkest moments, right? That actually you are in that same sort of realm of nature and beauty, and even the odd ones are beautiful,
Yeah, they're very beautiful. And how long will something like that last? It looks like it can last for a very long time.
So this is a hardier one. Oftentimes shelf life is another thing that I also I'm trying to expand the conversation on that too.
Yes.
So something like this can easily go for the week, in Singapore. And then I would say if you really want to, and you sentimentally want to preserve it, right, to dry it, then you can take it out of the water and then just hang it upside down. If you like this to not be too curled, right, then it will change in color, but the potatoes generally dry quite well. So the thing about shelf life is another thing where I used to also do that when I first started out, was to ask the suppliers, if I get this and it's this X amount of dollars, how long will it last, right? What is the shelf life? Until I realized, I'm missing the point. That actually flowers in the wild, they're not designed to last forever. It's not natural for a flower to be in bloom for that particular bud to be alive for 6 months or a month or even 3 weeks is a stretch, right? Most of them are there for the sole purpose. And if you think about the amount of energy a plant goes or puts into pushing a bloom out, this is it's like the best parts of them, the boldest part of their personality will come out in the flower, because it's meant for pollination, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they don't last in nature. And the whole point is not to last, but to be the best, most exciting versions of themselves, right? And to put themselves out there, right, in order for the species to kind of continue. And then I realized that, so the same way, people are willing to let's say, buy a coffee or something and it doesn't last for more than half an hour with you, right? But these blooms will last for maybe on average about 3 to 5 days in our tropics, longer if you're in a cooler, less humid climate, But the point is not about how long it stays with us here, but here.
Wow.
It's not. Okay. It's the intent behind the sharing of the flowers. The heart. Sorry, I forget we're a podcast and I just, but it's I think once you've received flowers and you've received flowers that are created just for you.
Yes.
Just for you.
Must be a very different experience from just a generic bouquet of flowers, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, there will always be a time and space for that, It's like with all of design and art, right? It's so subjective.
Yes.
Yeah. And there will always be a space for different styles. But for us, I think, and again, I'm just also looping back to the business part, right? The challenge is always first, I was really stumped by how do we grow and still keep things really personal, because we're a very small team, okay? But then I realized, it just struck me, I'm going to embrace it, that we are in the business that is personal. And everything about my business is personal, and there's a humility and pride that we have to realize that, okay, we may not be able to churn out, 100, actually we have though, so with very little sleep we have, but you see, scale to me is not my goal. I don't think that right now, I'm choosing my words very carefully at the moment also, because I'm not instinctively a business-driven person. I mean, many of customers have come to our studio, and some of you listening will know this. You're probably one of them who've ordered flowers, and then I'm like, oh, hello, hi, talk. Put the flowers together. Thank you so much. Come again. I can't wait to see you guys. They leave. And then 2 minutes later, they're like running through the door. Hey, Claire, we didn't pay you. So trust me, Ross, I'm working on the business aspect of things. But that's because that's never been a priority. I think survival is very important, but it really matters to me how. It really matters to me how. And scaling and growth, just like that plant in that pot, right, is inevitable if you know why you're there. If you just trust in your abilities to do what you do best, right? Growth with the right environment is inevitable. And what I mean by right environment is also like, I think surround yourself with people who nurture what you believe in. You know, people like yourself. You know, I'm pinching myself that I'm on this podcast right now because I've admired your work for so long. And once I got to know you, I admired your work ethic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words too.
No,
Well, I mean, it's like I look at the work that you're doing and your team and how you have grown ever since we met like a few years back. I think your growth is like quite impressive for this short few years. So I'm interested to hear like, so from just individual bouquets, I've seen that you're doing a lot more corporate work, so larger scale events. So how has it been for you? Because I think it's different when you're just doing like, you know, the manageable ones would be like, okay, I'm going to make this arrangement for like, you know, send to people. I think those are still within my kind of scale. But when you're talking about larger events, when you have teams and you guys are working like to like morning, I don't know, like some really hard work. So I'd like to hear more about that kind of experience so that people know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, it's really funny and it probably won't translate in the audio version of this, but I love when you said growth and we grew like that, right? But it's funny because I want to grow like this. I want, and for those just listening in, right, my hand was like pointed downwards because we need to grow deeper roots. You know, every single corporate gig that we've gotten is because either it's been word of mouth or the customer has come in as a B2C customer and we shared our passion for flowers and we shared our story and we listened to theirs. And I mean, and then they share, so I'm working at la la la. And then, you know, do you guys do this? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm the sort that I'm like, okay, we're going to jump in. You know, I may not have the experience, but that's what experience is about. It's about just you getting it, you know, and making it happen.
Experience as you go as well.
Yeah, correct. And again, learning as we go, you know. And that's how we started growing in terms of scale of events, right? By going deeper. And because we had these, I mean, I would say deeper, more, I like to think authentic connections with our clients because we really love them. Like I genuinely love them. And they, and because I think we also attract a certain crowd with the fact that we're kind of kooky and we, and with the flowers. And we try to be a little bit more freewheeling in terms of, you know, embracing the joy and the spontaneity, like I just shared about. We then attracted a very interesting portfolio of clients as well, who understand that we value the story. And the audience of one, which is, you know, me caring about that the recipient, the single recipient, is the same with an audience of 1,000. An audience of 1,000 is just an audience of 1,000 single recipients. And so for us, as long as, you know, when we approach the larger events, it's always, yes, what is the emotional impact when you step into the room? That is our job, to raise and sort of, you know, raise the energy of that space, and to amplify the brand story. So if it's a corporate gig or if it's a wedding, right, it's about amplifying the couple story. If it's a corporate gig, it's about, their legacy or whatever they're trying to excite the audience about. The nature, I mean, the botanicals they have to sort of just enhance that, right? That voice. But up close, that's where the fun begins, see, with our designs. Because once you get up close with our designs, like we always are very, very conscious that they have to be rewarded. All curiosity has to be rewarded.
Wow.
And that's the only way we're going to grow a love for plants. I'm going to grow a love for, you know, flowers and the wider environment around us. And that's a very active pursuit that we have as creatives here at Fridays. Like, you know, we can create something that's visually impactful, but my job is to make it an invitation.
Wow.
So I keep, you know, I've repeated this to myself a number of times because I needed to, with the hundreds of species that come through our doors every week, right? I needed to have a few anchors, I realized. Because, you can get caught up in just, putting together something that's fun and exciting. But then, when you talk about a Friday style, I also was like, oh my God, what's a Friday style actually? And that's where these principles, I realized I was repeating the things that meant something to me. We kept going back to, and this is one of the principles where, curiosity has to be rewarded. So at the larger events, we still make sure that those moments are there. And I think that when we've got clients that understand how much we care about even these details, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then, we don't seek to be the biggest. We don't seek to be, there's a lot of, I think, work out there that is very stunning, is very impressive, right? But the impressions I want to make, again, are not just, I think intelligent design is important, but emotive design is what I'm really gearing towards and what I think will resonate. That's what I want to do when we select, the events that we participate in. It's a very conscious thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Like, I love what you said about curiosity needs to be rewarded, right? So when you select like whatever blooms for your events, are they all like, do you really make sure that they, are you inviting everyone to come close and touch and feel it? Is it, are all your arrangements made that way, like you can interact with them? Kind of.
No, I love that you say that, because a lot of our culture tells us, art.
Yes.
You back off, right?
Yeah.
Don't touch. There's a red rope.
Yes.
Nature naturally wants to pull you in. And I'm hoping, we're always like, please don't manhandle all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But generally we find that people are very respectful. And if something is created with care, you'll see, that energy, right, is a very, contagious sort of a thing. People will approach it with care. But the key is people will still approach it. You still have to make sure that art is accessible. Yes. And so for us, yes, we want people to be curious all the time and immediately want to touch, like how you were, reaching out for the smoke bush and stuff, because it looks so strange, right?
Yes, it looks beautiful.
We want to make sure that it does allow for that. But at the same time, that's where the experience comes in. So our mechanics also and have to withstand that.
Wow,
because flowers are delicate, and so we definitely don't encourage people like touching or just throwing things, tossing things about. But that's where the experience comes in, because I've learned so much on the road by working with people who are way more experienced than I am. I think that's always the key when building the business, to hire people who are stronger than you where you are not as strong yet. And then you got to learn, and then as a leader, how to apply that as well. And so for me, I've been learning so much from these incredible individuals who've given Fridays their time as freelancers, and the core team has grown leaps and bounds, so I would say always make sure that invitation is open, but make sure also that your designs are able to withstand that interaction, right? On a very practical level, just to protect your client's interest. Yeah.
Oh. So you were saying that there are a few things that you want to be rooted in. Like besides this value, is there another value that you can share, like with Fridays Gardens, that makes Fridays so unique?
Gosh, okay, we talked about people and community building, that's very important. How curiosity has to be rewarded, and the emotive side, right?
Yes.
I touched a little bit on that audience of one, and how business has to be personal.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've told this story before for a few of them, but that's also, I learned it from my days as a part-time freelance jockey, Yeah, I was, so now elder millennial. I say the word jockey when I talk about radio. So I was, so it was one of my first jobs actually when I was a teen, and then growing up, I continued to freelance on the airways. Yeah, see all the millennials speak coming out now. Airways.
Airways.
Yes. You and I know that, right?
But but that's why you sound really, you're so eloquent, and you're like so engaging, when you talk. So now it all makes sense.
No lah. Last time I was so nervous that I used to print out my talk sets and read verbatim, and I rehearsed it when the songs were going on, and then hands shaking, press the button.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think yeah, those were the days lah. But now again, the flowers have taught me to be more self-accepting, and not to worry too much about the flaw. I still worry, by the way. Yeah, it's still a very real thing. But we were talking about audience of one, and back then, I made what at the time the station director called it the biggest mistake ever.
No way.
I used to go on air and I used to go like, "Hey guys,
Oh,
hey everyone, good morning everyone." And then I got the call and she was like, "No, it's not everyone. It's that one taxi driver. That's that one housewife, that one person who's listening right now who wants to connect with you and you just blew that and made it impersonal."
Oh,
right? So not so many words, like these weren't not
Yes.
verbatim anymore, but it's like, wow, I was stunned that day. And that has changed my life. So that influenced everything I did in branding. It influences everything with Fridays right now.
the perspective, right?
Yes.
The change of perspective. But did you say hello? Like instead of hi everyone, it's like hi you. Like,
Yes, correct. So it'll be like a hey you, oh hi. It's just a
Wow.
hi. Thanks so much for
Wow.
joining me. And I then would end off every talk set with I'm Clare, all yours till 2 p.m. or whatever it was, right? And then that's it. Because that people are just out there waiting to feel like they're not alone on this blue planet floating through a multiverse. That's it. Right? And so as designers, or as like for us as botanical designers, where can we find the beauty and the connection? Whether it's to nature and to each other. Yeah. I don't think that the flowers are just here on this planet I don't know. But to me, as humans, as humble, my word went to parasites, but as humble like creatures on this planet, right? I think it's a privilege to be able to use this as a love language. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They have a lot of, purpose, like you said, besides pollinating. And,
Oh no, we are just like humble sort of. They're gonna thrive. If humanity gets wiped out, right? These babies are gonna thrive. Yeah, but I think it's just such a gift to be able to still be part of growing them and learning about them, sharing about them, and that's why every week we have like a new species come through that we've never touched before. Like
So
this week
you-
we've got figs behind us. We've eaten them before, right? But those are figs.
They are like really green.
Yeah, they're-
Usually by the
they're
time
not
we
ripe.
eat them,
Yeah,
they are
so
like not that color. Yeah.
no. And I wouldn't recommend you eating these as well. But really fun, to keep discovering, keep
Do
learning.
you keep? Do you make it a point to bring in something new all the time, or how do you look for these species?
So aside from pouring through what's available from the farms, right, via our suppliers, we're constantly looking at books and Googling and sort of just keeping an eye out. And I think an open mind and again, curiosity comes back to it, right? Because curiosity, it comes from a place of humility. Like you have to realize and love the fact that the world is so much bigger than you think and and there's so much yet to be learned. And so every week we try to be like, okay, the screenshot. Can you bring this in? What is this? What is this called? Is this, and even with our flowers, like, because, we've got a normal range, right? And then we also actually have a pet-friendly range. Yeah. So that, oh my goodness, took a lot of learning and unlearning as to what was safe and non-lethal for our pets. And of course, okay, so the flowers that we bring in are not organically grown. Okay, so they're not grown for consumption. No matter what, I will not recommend you or your pet making a meal out of our flowers, even if they need a lot of fiber. This is not the way to go. But like, for example, behind you, there's like a pet-friendly bouquet as well.
Wow, that's very pretty.
Yeah, people don't realize that there's actually a lot out there that you can embrace if you've got cats and dogs at home. And it's all right. You know what I mean? It's not going to kill your, and it's, sadly, it's a common thing, especially when people don't know, like lilies and certain types of like Banksia protea, they're all very harmful. So we try to constantly educate ourselves and then learn more about the species so that we can responsibly sort of build those bridges. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing because I think, a few years back when I first had my cats, I realized how toxic some of the flowers are, and I kind of just decided to stop completely like getting flowers. But now that I know that there's such an option, and you have, because I think at that point, a few years back, it was still not very, popular, I guess, like the pet friendly, or I heard you kind of went deep dive into studying about what species are.
I mean, we tried
safe,
to,
pet
yes,
safe, right?
we tried to do research, and we also spoke with a vet partner.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, because we really wanted to make sure that not only, because again, the stuff is not organic, right? Organically grown. So there's still going to be certain traces of like, fungicide or pesticide.
Okay.
But in the instant that, that your pet were to ingest something they weren't meant to ingest, it's also what should you do? I mean, it shouldn't just be us as florists going, well, oh, too bad.
Yes.
No, it's a responsibility in that sense. So we try our best to be informed with the caveat, of course, that please seek and consult with your vet because we are not experts, But I'm a dog owner as well. I'm a pet owner, and I would hate if my Lucy got hurt, and invariably from something that I was just ignorant to. So for us, it's like we just try to give safer options. But we always encourage people. I mean, aside from reading up, and the ASPCH is a long list of flowers that are non-toxic to cats and dogs. I think they also have for horses, but I think very few Singaporeans need to worry about that. Yeah,
so you can go on.
Yes, you can go on. Okay. Yeah,
but do you also have like a pet-friendly arrangement on your website that is ready to go, like for people to order from? Oh, that's great.
So all of our flowers are like we call them a signature omakase. So meaning that you can choose from the color theme and the vibe. And then we will sort of just whip together what's seasonally like fresh and interesting and curate that for you. Yeah. So for the pet friendlies, they can choose from any of our color themes actually, and then we'll do a pet friendly version.
That's awesome. That's very, very helpful. Okay, now I know where to go for my flowers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for my friends, a lot of cat lovers and dog lovers as well. Yeah. Okay. So moving forward, do you have any like what kind of projects would you like to work on? Because you have already done like, like the individual ones. Like, and then the bigger corporate events. And are there anything that, you would like to embark on that has not been done yet?
Many.
So many. I'm excited to hear about
oh my
them.
gosh. I was just telling the girls and the team as well that we, I would love one day to do a set for like traditional Chinese opera.
Wow.
I would love to work together to do the headsets and the headpieces and dress the stage. And it doesn't matter that it's, one of those that they just erect for the time outside the temple. I think, you can't, I would say it doesn't have to be grand to be important. It doesn't have to be huge to be significant. I would love to be part of that because it's a dying culture, dying part of the culture. I can't profess to know enough about it, but there's always been this mystique linked to it and such a courage as well, because it's not something that's popular nowadays, but so much thought clearly has gone into it as an art form.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's so distinctive, and so I would love to do that. I would love to do something for like mental health for the kids in hospitals, and a lot of them, unfortunately, with flowers, pollen is a thing. And that's why when people come to us actually and they say, we're sending this bouquet to a friend in recovery, we always ask, we would like to suggest low pollen or no pollen flowers, actually, like orchids and stuff, because we just don't want to trigger and sort of do anything for the immune system. Not that they do. So again, it depends on what they're recovering from, but we just try to be sensitive that way, because I think, again, our job is to help, with whatever situation and stuff. So for the kids in let's say hospitals and we actually have worked with Arc Children's Centre as well. So that's a daycare centre with kids living with terminal illnesses and cancer. We found that there needs to be a way where they can enjoy nature and experience it without the risk of being triggered by pollen. So I don't know whether it's just a blanket with floral designs that can also double up as some sort of a board game or something when they're in bed and in hospital that they can appreciate nature at their level, right? I would love to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like not really using fresh flowers, but using your love for flowers, like your knowledge of flowers, and applying it to different items that they can interact with. That would be fun.
Absolutely. It's all about just, again, widening the aperture, like I always say, like, that the world is bigger, brighter, and bolder than this, and that you're part of it, and you're welcome in it. And that's, so Things like that I think would be fun.
Yes.
I could go on.
Okay. Are there any upcoming projects that you're excited to share with us about that you can share? Do you have any new launches or something that you share with us about?
Yes, I think, right now, at the time we're recording this, we're gearing up for Father's Day.
Yes.
So we're excited about that. We are, I can't give away too much.
Okay. But Father's Day, do you typically get a lot of orders for fathers? Like how is the flower scene like?
So I'm happy to report that it's growing, and I love it. And one of my favorite actually arrangements to do, and they don't know this. I've never actually communicated directly with the client about this. It's so special for me to create for parents here when their kids are overseas. So we get a lot of orders in from kids, adults now, of course, that are overseas and living overseas, and the parents are still in Singapore. And when it's Mother's Day and Father's Day, when I see those, it's very special to me because my dad used to work overseas for the longest time. COVID brought him back. And now he's our delivery rep. So for those of you who know Uncle Gerard, that's my father, actually. It's my pops. And so I think, helping to bridge that again and is very special. And we do get more and more orders for fathers. Wow. So that always puts an extra big smile on my face because we don't think that wonder is, should be gendered.
Yes. And how, do you have a special pick for Father's Day? Like in terms of flowers, do you, are you inspired by your father or how do you form this arrangements usually?
Yeah, so we actually have one over there, but it's about the concept of masculinity and responsibility and duty.
Wow.
I think
awesome.
It's a deep one for me because I'm also raising a son. So my boy is going to be 9 in September, and I've only just, like I said, reconnected with my father as well because he used to work overseas, and to have him home on a daily basis is just a joy. And I think it's very important that it's masculine can be soft. The same way femininity can be absolutely fierce and determined and full of grit. We try to play with those by mixing, the hardier textures or the coarser textures with delicate blooms, because I think, again, it's not about gender or about orientation, which is also important, to identify as separate. But it's about personality. It's about you as a human being, your capability to love. Yes. And that we should celebrate every dimension.
Wow.
It's not just, you're not made to be just one thing. You're not made to be just one thing. Oftentimes a plant has really brittle, coarse leaves or thorns because the flowers are delicate and they're just trying to protect it.
Wow.
So, I would just say embrace every facet of yourself. And I think with our Father's Day thing, we always so try to celebrate that. The dads who can be firm when they need to be firm and to be the bad cop, but at the same time, be gentle and forgiving and welcoming and be that cushion when your child needs you. Yes. The world needs more fathers like that. Yeah, that's what I feel. So
wow, when you're just talking about this and I'm imagining a father, maybe my own father receiving a bouquet of flowers, I think the beauty about sending flowers is really the person receiving it would actually have this opportunity to soften their hearts. Don't you feel? It's like flowers have this power. No matter what you're going through, what facade you put up, but when you receive flowers, there's no way that you're going to be I don't want this. But it just softens you up to receive love, right? I think that's the beauty of flowers, giving and receiving it. So that's awesome.
I love that you just said that. Yeah,
softening of the heart.
And receiving love. It's a skill.
Love. Yes, because I think your heart has to be softened in order to welcome the good stuff and the love.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Wow, okay. It was so lovely talking to you. We are coming towards the end of our podcast, and usually we will ask this question to most of our guests, which is, if you were to go to a deserted island, let's say you have food and everything taken care of, but you can bring one craft with you, like something or a tool or something that you can work with your hands with. What would that be?
If I had a skill, a craft, a tool.
A craft. Is there, because I guess we are all creators, right? You need to work with
I'd
something.
probably bring a cup.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah,
Oh.
that was not the answer I was going to go for, but I'm sure there are more exciting answers out there, but I just feel like it could do so much, a vessel, right? Like whether it's collecting water, although you said food and water provided for, is it?
Yeah, more
when
like
you tell me
some
deserted island, I'm really thinking like,
survival, right?
like Tom Hanks and Castaway.
Yeah.
But
A
it
cup
seems
to
useful
collect stuff.
to collect, to share, to build, because you can use that. I mean, I would go to like sandcastles and building. I don't know.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm the only one on a deserted island building sandcastles, because it's so important to me, the symbol of a vessel. And the emptying of self in order to get to be filled again, and all that, and
Because I think the interesting thing is more metaphorical.
Yeah.
Because you are thinking, okay, I'm going to be on a desert island. I'm going to empty myself so that I can be ready for the new chapter. Almost like preparing yourself for.
And water is very important for survival.
Yeah. And you can be collecting flowers and plants and then putting it into your vessel and growing them, and then the roots will come out and you will have a garden. You have Friday's garden going on.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe it better be a well-made cup, is all I'm saying. And that's why we'll turn to you for that. Okay, Ross.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of
that is
beautiful
so
vessels
funny.
too. Yeah, interesting. Thank you so much for the answer and joining us today
No
on the
worries.
podcast.
Yeah.
I think we can go on talking for a long time.
No,
but
it's been a joy. Thank
I
you.
will look forward to speaking with you again when, a few years down the road, we can see where we are at and chat again. Always welcome.
Okay.
And always a joy to speak with you. Yeah. Thank you so much for
thank
coming
you.
on today, Claire. And thank you everyone for listening. If you'd like to watch the full video of this podcast, it will be available on our Patreon. And also all the audio recording will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So see you in the next episode.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.